So there's a supposed deal between Russia and the United States, a ceasefire in Syria. And what do you think of this agreement?
So I think it's not sustainable because it doesn't have any political horizon. It's really interested in the military aspect of the conflict, and I don't think this is really sustainable. The main focus of the agreement is a ceasefire that would leave ISIS and al-Nusra out, and therefore they could be targeted during the ceasefire. And for ISIS, it's easy to target their territory because it's really separate and it's mostly in the north. With al-Nusra or Jabhat Fath al-Sham, it's more difficult because al-Nusra is really intertwined with many of the opposition groups in northern Syria and other places. And there is no way the Russian and the U.S. airstrike could target al-Nusra without targeting opposition forces, FSA, and also civilians.
We don't even know what this agreement is. I mean, if it's in writing, no one's shown it. Is that right?
Yeah, so the agreement was actually not shared with the opposition forces. It's not clear where the territory that is controlled by al-Nusra are. And right now it's very, very confusing. So many of the opposition groups are actually opposing this agreement. In addition to that, there were a number of violations since the ceasefire started few hours from ago. And there were airstrikes in Hama. So it's not really, as I said, sustainable.
Do we know what is supposed to happen if there are violations?
So there is no procedure or policy to address any kind of violation. The U.S. tried to impose some kind of procedure to do that, but the Russian and the Syrian regime were opposed to that. And that's exactly what they did last time there was a ceasefire back in March. There were violations, repeated violations, and there was no way to address those. So that's why they were opposed to them in this most recent agreement.
And at this very same time, there's been surrenders and evacuations, and the U.S. hasn't made any fuss about it.
I would go even further. I think there is ethnic cleansing in some regions. The Sunni population is basically displaced and is sent to Idlib and other Sunni areas. And those areas are supposedly going to be populated by Iranian and Iraqi. So the Syrian regime is basically enforcing this forced displacement and ethnic cleansing in some areas by first starting in besieging some of the areas, starving the population, preventing humanitarian aid from reaching that population, and then later on forcing that population and the military forces that are present in those regions forcing them to leave those areas.